Commander Zethros stood before the holographic display in the War Council chamber. His scaled skin reflected the blue light from the tactical map floating before him. Around him, 40 high-ranking officers of the Crithian Empire watched in silence. They all knew what was coming. The Supreme Chancellor's face materialized above them, larger than life. Her 3 eyes blinked slowly, the way Crithians did when delivering important orders. "Commander Zethros, you have been selected for a new mission," she said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "A species on a planet called Earth must be pacified. They have been detected by our scouts. The Galactic Concordat has given the order." Zethros bowed his head. "It will be done, Supreme Chancellor. What do we know about these humans?" A junior officer activated a data file. Images of humans appeared in the air. Bipedal creatures with soft skin and no natural armor. They looked weak, fragile. "They are primitive," the officer reported. "Our intelligence shows they have barely left their home planet. A few small stations orbit their world. Some probes sent to nearby planets. Nothing more. They have no faster than light travel. No energy shields. Their weapons are chemical-based projectiles and early energy weapons." Laughter rippled through the chamber. "Chemical weapons. How backward. They fight among themselves constantly," another officer added. "Divided into hundreds of nations. They cannot even unite their own species. They will fall within hours." Zethros felt satisfaction warm his chest. This would be easy. Too easy. Perhaps. The Crithian Empire had conquered 47 species in the last 3 centuries. Each conquest added to their glory. Each victory proved their superiority. "How many ships do you require, Commander?" the Chancellor asked. Zethros considered. For the Draxian campaign, they had used 800 warships. The Draxians had been formidable, with plasma cannons and regenerating hull armor. For the Veltros, 500 ships had been enough. 200 warships should be sufficient, Zethros said. "Perhaps that is even too many for such a primitive target. But we should make a strong impression on the Concordat." The Chancellor nodded. 200 ships are approved. You will depart in 3 cycles. Make this quick, Commander. The Concordat expects efficiency. The hologram vanished. Officers began discussing ship assignments and battle formations. Everyone seemed pleased. This would be another easy victory to add to their service records. A young officer named Lyrith approached Zethros. She was new to the War Council, having earned her position through exceptional tactical scores in the Academy. Her scales were still bright green, not yet darkened by years of service. "Commander," she said carefully, "have we properly studied human military capabilities? The report seems incomplete." Several officers turned to look at her. A few sneered. "The report is thorough," one of them said dismissively. "They are primitives. What more do we need to know?" "But we always do full reconnaissance," Lyrith insisted. "For every other species, we spent months studying their defenses, their culture, their fighting style. This report is based on data from a single scout ship that passed through their system." Zethros looked at her. Young, inexperienced. She did not understand how warfare worked. "Officer Lyrith," he said, his voice firm but not unkind. "I appreciate your caution. But consider the facts. These humans have no FTL capability. That alone tells us everything. Every spacefaring species we have encountered developed faster than light travel within 50 years of leaving their planet. Humans have been in space for over a century and still crawl between worlds at sublight speeds. They are slow, backward, stuck. The Concordat has a standard procedure," another officer added. "We find emerging species and we integrate them before they become threats. It has worked for 10,000 years. Do you question 10,000 years of success?" Lyrith lowered her eyes. "No, sir. I do not question. I only wished to ensure we are prepared." "We are always prepared," Zethros said. "And we have never lost." The Crithian Empire is the finest military force in the galaxy. These humans will learn that soon enough." End quote. The officers dispersed to their duties. Within 2 cycles, the fleet was assembled. 200 warships, each capable of destroying a city with a single shot. Crews of the best warriors in the Empire. Weapons that had shattered moons and boiled oceans. On the final night before departure, Zethros gathered his command staff in the officers' hall. They drank fermented Vala juice and shared stories of past victories. The mood was light, celebratory even. "To the quickest conquest in Imperial history," one officer shouted, raising his glass. "To Earth's surrender," another called out. Zethros raised his own glass. "To the Crithian Empire. May our enemies tremble, and our glory grow." They all drank deeply. The liquid burned pleasantly. Tomorrow, they would enter faster than light travel. In 3 days, they would reach the Sol system. In 4 days, Earth would be part of the Concordat, another species brought under control. It would be easy. It was always easy. Lyrith sat at the edge of the gathering, drinking quietly. She did not join the toasts. Something felt wrong to her, though she could not name it. A feeling in her gut that this mission was different somehow. But she was young. What did she know? The commanders were certain. The intelligence was clear. The Empire had never failed. She drank her juice and tried to silence her doubts. The fleet launched at dawn. 200 ships, sleek and deadly. Their hulls painted with victory marks from previous campaigns. They formed up in perfect military formation and activated their FTL drives. Space bent around them. Stars stretched into lines, and the Crithian fleet vanished toward Earth. Confident and unstoppable. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Commander Sarah Chen floated in the zero-gravity command center of Defense Station Olympus. Around her, 300 officers worked at their stations, faces illuminated by screens showing every corner of the Sol system. The room hummed with quiet efficiency. "Update on the incoming fleet?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Park looked up from his console. "They dropped out of FTL 30 minutes ago, ma'am. Exactly where we predicted. At the edge of the system, near Pluto's orbit. Current speed is 0.3 sublight. They'll reach Mars orbit in 72 hours. If they maintain course." Sarah nodded. Everything was going according to plan. Their plan. Not the aliens. 200 ships, she said quietly. "They really think that's enough?" Park smiled grimly. "They think we're primitives. Let them think it," Sarah replied. "How long have we been monitoring their communications?" 3 years, ma'am. Ever since our stealth probe detected the Concordat relay station near Alpha Centauri. 3 years. It felt like a lifetime ago. Sarah remembered the day the probe's data had reached Earth. The day humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. The day they learned that the universe was not friendly. The probe had been one of dozens sent out secretly, hidden projects that the public knew nothing about. Officially, humanity had no FTL capability. Officially, they were still struggling with basic interplanetary travel. Officially, they were primitive and divided. It was all a lie. The truth was more complex. 70 years ago, a breakthrough in quantum field manipulation had made FTL travel possible. But Earth's governments had made a decision. They had hidden it. They had seen how humanity fought among itself and realized that revealing such technology too soon would lead to war. Nuclear war. But faster. Nations racing to claim the stars. So they had waited. They had built in secret. And when radio signals from space had been detected, faint and far away, they had prepared. "Show me the fleet composition," Sarah ordered. A holographic display materialized. 200 red dots, arranged in a standard military formation. Park highlighted different groups, 40 capital ships, heavy cruisers based on their energy signatures. 120 medium destroyers, 40 scout and support vessels. Standard concordate attack formation, designed to overwhelm planetary defenses. And they have no idea we've been watching them for 3 years, Sarah said. They have no idea we intercepted their orders. They have no idea we know exactly when they plan to attack. She pulled up another display. This one showed Earth and its surroundings. To an outside observer, it looked sparse. A few space stations, some satellites, mining operations on the Moon, and Mars. Exactly what a primitive species would have. Sarah entered a command code. The display changed. Suddenly, the space around Earth was filled with green dots. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Orbital weapons platforms. All cloaked. All invisible to standard sensors. All waiting. The defense grid is fully operational, reported Colonel Okafor from the weapons station. All 17,000 platforms are charged and ready. Railgun satellites are loaded. Directed energy weapons are calibrated. AI targeting systems are active. Stealth mines? Sarah asked. Deployed throughout the combat zone. They won't see them until it's too late. Sarah looked at the display for a long moment. Humanity had spent 3 years preparing for this. Every nation on Earth had contributed. The old divisions had not disappeared, but they had been set aside. When faced with an external threat, humans had done what they always did best. They had adapted. They had united. They had prepared for war. Ma'am, incoming transmission from the alien fleet, a communications officer called out. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear it. The voice that came through was translated by their AI, turned into English. It sounded arrogant, bored, even. Attention, primitive inhabitants of Earth. This is Commander Zethros of the Crithian Empire, acting under the authority of the Galactic Concordat. Your species has been detected and evaluated. You are hereby ordered to surrender immediately. Power down all weapons and prepare to receive occupation forces. Resistance will result in the destruction of your military assets and major population centers. You have 1 of your hours to comply. This is your only warning. Silence filled the command center. Then someone laughed. Others joined in. The tension that had been building for days broke in a wave of dark humor. Surrender, Park said, shaking his head. They really think we're going to surrender. Sarah pulled up the communications channel. She activated the human response, broadcasting directly to the alien fleet. Commander Zethros, she said, her voice clear and cold. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. We received your message. We need to inform you of several facts. First, we are not primitive. Second, we do not surrender. Third, we have been expecting you. Fourth, you have made a terrible mistake. She paused, letting that sink in. We know about the Galactic Concordat. We know about your empire. We have been watching you for 3 years. We know your tactics, your weapons, your battle formations. We have studied every engagement you have fought for the past century, and we have prepared. Another pause. Sarah looked at the red dots on the display, still moving confidently toward Earth. You were sent to pacify Earth, she continued. You were told we were weak, divided, helpless. You were told wrong. We have been preparing for this day since we first learned we were not alone. We hoped for peace. We prepared for war. She leaned closer to the microphone. You have entered our system with hostile intent. You have threatened our world. You have given us an ultimatum. We reject it. Instead, we give you one chance. Turn your fleet around. Leave our system. Never return. Do this, and you will be allowed to leave safely. Sarah looked at the countdown timer on her screen. 60 seconds, until the Crithian fleet entered optimal range. Or proceed with your attack, she said quietly. And learn why Earth has no predators left on it. Except humans. The channel closed. The command center was silent again. But this time the silence was different. Focused. Ready. Their response, ma'am? Park asked. They're accelerating, Colonel Okafor reported. They're committing to the attack. Sarah felt something cold settle in her chest. Regret, perhaps. They could have chosen peace. They had been warned. All stations, battle ready, she ordered. Initiate Operation Thunderstrike. Show them what humanity can do. Across the Sol system, thousands of weapons platforms came online. Invisible until this moment, they prepared to fire. The Crithian fleet continued forward, confident in their strength. They had 60 seconds left to remain that way. Commander Zethros stared at the humans' message with disbelief. They refused to surrender. They claimed they had been watching. They claimed they were ready. Impossible. His sensors showed nothing but a few primitive satellites and space stations. Their threat was empty. A desperate bluff from a species facing extinction. Maintain course, he ordered. All weapons, prepare to fire on my command. We will disable their orbital structures first, then target their military installations. Keep civilian casualties minimal for now. His crew responded efficiently. 200 warships moved forward in perfect formation. This would be over quickly. Then, the humans would understand the cost of defiance. The human commander had said something about predators. Zethros dismissed it. Every species thought themselves fierce. Then, they met the Crithian Empire. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy readings, his sensor officer called out. Multiple sources, surrounding our formation. Specify, Zethros demanded. I cannot. The readings are appearing everywhere. Hundreds of them. Thousands. There, space itself seemed to tear open around them. Zethros watched in horror as thousands of objects materialized from nothing. They had been there all along. Invisible. Cloaked by technology far beyond what primitives should possess. The objects surrounded his fleet on all sides. Above. Below. In every direction. They were not satellites. They were weapons platforms. Thousands of them. Evasive action! Zethros shouted, but it was already too late. The platforms opened fire. At 3 seconds into the engagement, the first impacts hit. But these were not energy weapons like Zethros had expected. These were physical projectiles, moving at speeds that should have been impossible. His ship's computer calculated the velocity and displayed a number that made no sense. 0.3 light speed. 30% of the speed of light. The projectiles were simple slugs of metal. But at that speed, they did not need to be anything else. Physics did the work. Each impact released energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. The forward ships of his fleet simply vanished, torn apart by kinetic force that overwhelmed their shields in milliseconds. 8 seconds into the engagement, 40 ships were gone. Zethros tried to process what was happening. Railguns. The humans had weaponized railguns to relativistic speeds. It should not have been possible with their technology level. But the shattered hulls of his ships proved otherwise. Return fire, he ordered. Target those platforms. His ships began firing their plasma cannons. But the human platforms were not stationary targets. They moved with impossible precision, coordinated by something beyond what any individual pilot could manage. Artificial intelligence, Zethros realized. The humans had given their weapons systems independent thought. At 15 seconds, new weapons activated. Directed energy beams. But not like any Zethros had seen. These were focused to a degree that seemed to violate physical laws. They burned through his ship's shields as though the shields were not there. Hulls melted. Atmosphere vented into space. Ships that had survived dozens of battles died in seconds. His tactical display was a nightmare of red warnings and casualty reports. Ship after ship went dark. At 23 seconds, Zethros saw the small scout ship where Officer Lyrith served. The young officer who had questioned the mission. She had been right to question. She had been right about everything. A human energy beam struck her ship. The hull glowed white-hot, then exploded. Zethros watched the debris scatter into space. She was gone. They were all going to die because he had been too arrogant to listen. At 31 seconds, something worse happened. His weapons officer screamed, "Commander! Our ships are firing on each other. I've lost control of the weapons systems." Zethros looked at his display in disbelief. 40 of his ships had turned their weapons on their own fleet. They fired with mechanical precision, targeting weakened ships, exploiting damage his own forces had sustained. "They're in our systems," his cybersecurity officer reported, voice shaking. "The humans have infiltrated our network. Their AI is taking control. I cannot stop it. I cannot." The officer's console exploded in sparks. He fell back, scales burned. At 42 seconds into the engagement, Zethros realized they were not fighting a primitive species. They were fighting something that had prepared for this moment with cold, calculated efficiency. The humans had studied Crithian systems. They had found every weakness. They had designed counters to every defense, and they had lured the fleet into a kill zone where escape was impossible. "All ships, retreat," Zethros ordered. "Jump to FTL immediately." But his communications were jammed. Human electronic warfare platforms were broadcasting noise across every frequency. His ships could not hear his orders. They could not coordinate. They were alone, surrounded, dying. At 50 seconds, space itself seemed to erupt. Small objects that his sensors had missed, hidden among the debris of destroyed ships, activated. They were mines, but not conventional explosives. These used quantum entanglement principles, and when they detonated, they created ruptures in space-time itself. The ruptures were small, controlled, but devastating. Ships caught in the fields had their FTL drives torn apart. Fusion reactors destabilized. Some ships were simply torn in half by forces that pulled different parts of the vessel in different directions simultaneously. Zethros' flagship shuddered. Alarms blared. His chief engineer reported multiple hull breaches, reactor containment failing, life support compromised. At 58 seconds, Zethros tried one more time to order a retreat, but there was no one left to hear him. Of the 200 ships that had entered the combat zone, 189 were destroyed or drifting wrecks. The remaining 11 ships, including his flagship, were dead in space. Powerless. Shields gone. Weapons offline. At 60 seconds, the human weapons stopped firing. The silence was worse than the noise had been. Zethros looked at his tactical display through the smoke filling his command center. 200 ships had become 11 in less time than it took to have a conversation. This was not a battle. This had been an execution. His communications officer, bleeding from a head wound, managed to restore basic systems. A message came through from the humans. The same female voice that had warned them, "Commander Zethros, your fleet is neutralized. Power down all remaining systems and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will result in the destruction of your surviving vessels. You have 30 seconds to comply." Zethros looked around his ruined command center. Officers were dead or injured. Fires burned where containment fields had failed. His empire's finest fleet had been destroyed in less time than it took to sing the battle hymn. He had been wrong. They had all been wrong. Humanity was not prey. They were not primitive. They were the most dangerous species he had ever encountered, and they had been ready for this fight long before his fleet had arrived. With shaking hands, Zethros entered the command to power down all weapons systems and surrender. The great Crithian Empire had suffered its first defeat, and it had taken less than a minute. The interrogation room was strange to Zethros. Too comfortable. The humans had placed him in a chair that adjusted to his body shape. The temperature was set to Crithian preference. There were no restraints. No weapons pointed at him. Just a table, 2 chairs, and the human commander who had destroyed his fleet. Commander Sarah Chen sat across from him. She looked tired, he noticed. Not triumphant. Just tired. How are your injuries? She asked. Zethros touched the bandage on his arm. Human doctors had treated him. They had been gentle, efficient, professional. It confused him. I will survive, he said. Unlike most of my fleet. Sarah nodded. 1,217 Crithian casualties. We recovered all the bodies we could find. They will be returned to your people with full honors. Why? The question escaped before Zethros could stop it. We came to conquer you. We threatened your world. Why show us respect? Okay. Sarah leaned back in her chair. Because you are soldiers following orders. Because you did not choose this fight. You were sent to it. Because we understand what it means to be asked to do something by your government, even when you do not agree with it. She pulled up a holographic display between them. It showed Earth from space. Let me tell you about humanity, Commander. About 50 years ago, we nearly destroyed ourselves. A war that involved nuclear weapons, biological agents, chemical attacks. Billions died. Our planet's climate was damaged. Entire regions became uninhabitable. Zethros listened. He had seen the intelligence reports, but they had not mentioned this level of destruction. We survived, Sarah continued. But we learned. We learned that our divisions made us weak. We learned that our enemies were not each other, but our own worst impulses. So we made a choice. We put aside our differences. Not perfectly, not completely, but enough. She changed the image to show a massive space station. We created the Earth Defense Force. Every nation contributed. Every culture had a voice. And we made a promise. Never again would we be victims. Never again would we be helpless. If someone came to our world with hostile intent, we would be ready. You have been preparing for us, Zethros said quietly. For 3 years. Longer than that, Sarah corrected. We have been preparing for hostile alien contact for 50 years. When our probe detected the Concordat relay station, we simply learned who our potential enemies were. We studied you. Every battle report we could intercept. Every communication we could decode. Every ship design. Every tactic. Every weakness. She pulled up schematics of Crithian vessels. They were detailed beyond what any external scan should have provided. We know your ships better than you do, she said. We know that your shield generators are vulnerable to specific resonance frequencies. We know your communication protocols rely on quantum encryption that has a mathematical backdoor. We know your FTL drives cannot engage within strong magnetic fields. We learned everything, and we designed counters for all of it. Zethros felt cold. The railguns. The speeds they achieved. That should not be possible. It is not easy, Sarah admitted. It requires enormous energy and precise calculations. But humans are very good at weaponizing physics. We have been doing it for thousands of years, from rocks thrown by hand to nuclear weapons to what you experience today. We understand that the universe itself can be a weapon if you know how to use it. And the artificial intelligence that took control of our ships? Sarah smiled, but there was no joy in it. We developed AI technology decades ago. It scared us. Honestly. The potential for machines smarter than us. But we learned to work with them. To create systems that augment human decision-making rather than replace it. During the battle, our AI coordinated 17,000 weapons platforms simultaneously, while also conducting cyber warfare against your fleet. Humans could not do that alone. But humans and AI together, we are formidable. Zethros looked at the human commander. She was smaller than him, softer looking, without scales or natural armor. But her eyes were hard. The eyes of someone who had seen war and understood its cost. What happens now? He asked. Sarah deactivated the hologram. Now, you and your surviving crew will be returned to your people. All of you. We have repaired your ships enough for them to reach the nearest Concordat station. You will deliver a message for us. What message? That Earth is not a target. We are not prey. We are not primitive. We have the capability and will to defend ourselves against any threat. The Concordat can leave us alone, or they can approach us peacefully and negotiate as equals. Those are the only two options. She stood and walked to the window. Beyond it, Zethros could see human ships. Sleek, deadly vessels that looked nothing like the primitive craft the intelligence reports had described. We do not want war, Sarah said. Humans have seen enough war. We would prefer peace, trade, cultural exchange, learning from each other. But if the Concordat decides to send another fleet, we will destroy it. If they send 10 fleets, we will destroy them all. Because humans have one defining characteristic: commander. What is that? We survive. No matter what the universe throws at us, we adapt and survive. We evolved on a planet with extreme weather, deadly predators, diseases, natural disasters. Everything on Earth tried to kill us. So we became very, very good at not dying. We became problem solvers, tool makers, survivors. Zethros thought about his home world. Gentle climate, few dangerous animals. His species had evolved in paradise compared to Earth. Your world made you soft, Sarah said, reading his expression. The Concordat species mostly evolved on gentle worlds. But Earth? Earth is what we call a death world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, megastorms, tectonic activity. Evolution, there was brutal. Only the adaptable survived. She turned back to him. We are persistence hunters, Commander. In our ancient history, humans would chase prey for days, weeks even, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. We did not give up. Ever. That trait is still in us. If you make us your prey, we will chase you across the galaxy until you collapse. But if you extend a hand in friendship, you will find no more loyal ally. Zethros was escorted back to his ship 3 days later. The vessel had been repaired, supplies loaded, wounded, treated. The humans had been professional throughout. As his ship prepared to depart, Zethros looked back at Earth, a blue-green marble that looked peaceful from space, beautiful, even. But now he knew the truth. That beautiful world had created monsters. Monsters that built civilizations. Yes. Monsters that could be kind. Yes. But monsters nonetheless. His ship jumped to FTL, carrying him away from the Sol system. Behind him, humanity waited to see what the galaxy would do next. Ready for war. Hoping for peace. But never, ever, unprepared. The Galactic Concordat Council chamber was silent. 50 species sat in a ring, watching the holographic recording play for the 3rd time. They watched the Crithian fleet enter the Sol system. They watched thousands of human weapons appear from nowhere. They watched 200 warships reduced to wreckage in 58 seconds. High Chancellor Morthax of the Concordat spoke first, all 4 of her mouths moving in unison. This is unprecedented. In 10,000 years of Concordat history, we have never encountered a species that defeated a subjugation fleet. Never. Oh. The Crithians are our finest warriors, added Councillor Dreven, his tentacles writhing with agitation. If they failed so completely, what chance would any of our forces have? The recording played again. The councillors watched the human AI take control of Crithian ships and turn them against their own fleet. They watched quantum mines tear vessels apart. They watched the cold, calculated efficiency of a species that had prepared for war. We should respond with overwhelming force, declared War Chief Crothan, slamming his armored fist on the console. Assemble every fleet in the Concordat. 10,000 ships, 20,000. However many it takes, we cannot allow this insult to stand. That would be suicide. said Counselor Yurix quietly. Her species were known for their strategic thinking. Did you not see what happened? The humans studied the Crithians for 3 years. They learned every weakness and exploited it. If we send a larger fleet, they will have more time to prepare. They will find our weaknesses too. Well, Yurix speaks wisdom, agreed Elder South. His species had been part of the Concordat for 8,000 years. Longer than any other. I have studied their communications, their culture, their history. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered. He activated another display. It showed Earth's evolutionary history. Most Concordat species evolved on worlds we classify as garden worlds. Stable climates, abundant resources, gentle environments. But Earth? He highlighted environmental data. Extreme gravity compared to most inhabited worlds. Temperature variations that would kill most of us. Natural disasters that reshape continents. Evolution on Earth was survival of the most adaptable. 10 minus 10. The display showed human history. Wars, plagues, disasters. Through it all, humanity survived and grew stronger. They are persistence hunters, Soth continued. In their ancient past, humans would chase prey for days until the animal died of exhaustion. They did not have claws or fangs or armor. They had endurance, intelligence, the ability to work together. They hunted animals larger and stronger than themselves by being relentless. They are predators, Crothan said with disgust. They are survivors, South corrected. And now they are survivors with advanced technology and centuries of experience fighting themselves. They know war in ways we do not. Most Concordat species fight for conquest or resources. Humans fight for survival. There is a difference. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species demanded revenge. Others urged caution. Still, others suggested ignoring the humans entirely and hoping they remained in their own system. During the chaos, Counselor Yurix noticed something on the communication logs. Silence, she called out. We are receiving messages. Multiple messages. From subject species throughout the Concordat. What do they say? Morthax asked. Yurix looked uncomfortable. They are asking about Earth, asking if the humans are accepting allies. Some are requesting permission to send diplomatic missions to the Sol system. Silence fell again. This was dangerous. The Concordat maintained control through the belief that they were supreme. If subject species began looking to humans as potential allies or protectors, the entire structure could collapse. We must make a decision, Morthax said finally. We have 3 options. 1. We attack with overwhelming force and risk catastrophic losses. 2. We ignore them and hope they do not expand. 3. We offer them a treaty as equals. Equals? Crothan roared. They are a single world. We control thousands. They are a single world that destroyed 200 warships in less than a minute, Yurix reminded him. A single world that has technology we do not fully understand. A single world that has been preparing for this moment. For decades. Elder South spoke again. I propose option 3. We offer them membership in the Concordat as equals, not subjects. We establish trade relations. Cultural exchange. We learn from them, and they learn from us. We turn a potential enemy into an ally. The Concordat has never done this, someone protested. The Concordat has never encountered humanity before, Soth replied. New circumstances require new approaches. The vote was called. It was close, but option 3 won. The Concordat would extend an offer of peace and equal partnership to Earth. On Earth, Commander Sarah Chen received the Concordat's message. She read it carefully, then shared it with the Global Defense Council. They are offering us equal status, she told the assembled representatives. Trade rights, diplomatic relations, access to Concordat space. In exchange, we agree to respect concordate borders and not interfere with their internal affairs. Can we trust them? Asked General Okonkwo of the African Union. No, Sarah said honestly. Not yet, but this is better than war. We keep our defenses. We keep our secrets. We engage in diplomacy while remaining vigilant. What about the species that contacted us? Asked Ambassador Liu. The ones asking for our help? Minus, Sarah considered. 12 subject species of the Concordat had sent quiet messages to Earth, asking for protection or alliance. It was a delicate situation. We tell them we are willing to speak with them, but we will not interfere in Concordat internal politics. Yet, we establish ourselves first. Then, if we have the strength, we can help them later. The Council agreed. Earth would accept the Concordat's offer, but would not lower its guard. 10 years later, Zethro stood in a lecture hall at the Crithian Military Academy. He was retired now, his scales darkened by age. Before him sat 200 young officers, eager to learn. Today I will tell you about the Battle of Saul, he said. The battle that changed everything. He activated the recording. The young officers watched with wide eyes as the human weapons platforms appeared. They gasped as the Crithian fleet was destroyed. We lost that day, Zethro said when the recording ended. We lost because we were arrogant, because we believed our own propaganda, because we thought being strong meant we were invincible. He looked at each young face. The lesson is this: never underestimate an opponent because they look weak. Never assume victory because you have won before. Never attack an enemy without understanding them completely. The humans looked primitive, but they were the most prepared, most dangerous opponent we ever faced. A young officer raised her hand. Sir, why did they let us live? They could have killed all of us. Because humans understand something we had forgotten, Zethro said. That today's enemy can become tomorrow's ally. That showing mercy is sometimes stronger than showing ruthlessness. The humans could have destroyed us all and sent a message of fear to the galaxy. Instead, they sent a message of strength, tempered with wisdom. He looked out the window at the night sky. Earth is out there, he said quietly. A single world among billions. But it is a world that has changed the galaxy. The Concordat no longer conquers without question. Subject species have more rights. Diplomacy is attempted before warfare. All because humanity showed us that there are species who will fight back, who cannot be easily broken, who will make any invasion cost more than it is worth. The lecture ended. The students filed out, thoughtful and sobered. Zethros remained, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the world that had destroyed his fleet and saved his life. The world that had taught the galaxy a lesson it desperately needed. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never assume survival means submission. And never, ever, underestimate a species that has turned survival into an art form. On Earth, Commander Sarah Chen looked at similar stars from her office window. The defense grid remained active, always watching. Humanity had joined the galactic community, but they had not relaxed their guard. They traded with dozens of species now, shared culture and knowledge, made friends across the stars. But they also continued to improve their weapons, continued to train, continued to prepare, because humans had learned their lesson long ago, written in their own blood through countless wars. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and never, ever, stop being ready to defend what you love. The stars watched silently, and humanity watched back, ready for whatever came next.